My message to Andrew Tate would be to continue to be who he is. Okay, welcome back to Old Head Mindset Podcast. Today we're doing another reaction video, father and son team, so hope you enjoy it.
Today we're reacting to Andrew Tate's conversation with Piers Morgan. His first one. It's a very viral interview, and it gets pretty heated, but it also explains, the core element of Andrew Tate to Dad, so Dad can kind of familiarize himself with who Andrew Tate is and what he's about. I will say though that the video is very heavily skewed to paint him in a negative light. So Andrew Tate is a comedian as much as he is everything else. So there's a lot of videos of his humor is very black and dark. So he'll say some very shocking, provocative things when he's recording a video to himself. And often it gets cut up and shown to be that, like he believes it unironically. So Andrew Tate is going to interact with Piers Morgan, who has a very negative understanding with him, and has a really good insight into how Andrew Tate navigates a conversation. So perhaps we can pull apart how Andrew Tate thinks, whether it's good, whether it's not good, and see whether his mindset is worth adopting. So sound good?
Okay.
Cool.
Tonight on Piers Morgan Uncensored, one of the most infamous men in the world, Andrew Tate's misogynistic tirades have been viewed billions of times online. He's now been effectively banned, though, from the internet. He doesn't think that's fair. Tonight, I'm going to try and work out if it is.
From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London and welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored, Andrew Tate one-on-one. He's the most famous man you probably never heard of, with billions of views online. At one point this year, more people were searching Google for Andrew Tate than Donald Trump or Kim Kardashian. Well, some of the opinions Andrew Tate shares in his videos are undeniably deeply offensive. We're going to show you some of them on this show. I think you should see them for yourself, not simply hear what he says about them or what other people say about them. Tens of millions of people.
So what do you get from that introduction?
Well, yeah, it's not painting him in a good light. He's almost already looking like some sort of scam artist.
Yeah.
Because he's coming out of nowhere talking about a lot of different things, offering advice to people in life. And before the lights would shine on him, what was he doing?
Yeah, well, you're right in that it paints him in a negative light. They skipped over a big part of him, which is he was a world champion kickboxer. And he's been on the internet for years.
With great power comes great responsibility. It was certainly said before the great power came. It's inconvenient to a degree. However, like I said at the time, with the context of the conversation, I know that I'm not saying things which I believe to be detrimental to the world. However, they've been misconstrued and they've been misunderstood.
If a 25-year-old...
Just on that point that he said, he spoke what we talked about earlier. With great power comes great responsibility. Famous Spider-Man quote. And he's saying that he didn't expect the power that he would have when he made comments when he was younger or smaller. That goes back to what we said. Should you act, even though like you should be who you are, should you act as if the world is watching, or should you act as if, no one is watching?
My message to Andrew Tate would be to continue to be who he is, because that long race is hard to win. Meaning, if you're gonna try to do things today in preparation for tomorrow because you think you're gonna get burnt for the thing you're saying today, then you're probably not being your genuine self. You're trying to perpetrate so you can try to cover your backside. But this is what our message is to the youth, is to get busy learning who you are, being true to who you are, be willing to stand on your values because you put a lot of work into it. So that your actions and the words that come out of your mouth and the moves you make in the world, you're okay with them if you got it wrong. Now, if you are not being your genuine self and you are just throwing stuff out there that's not who you truly are, then you're gonna pay the price for that, and you're gonna feel like you let yourself down and everyone else down. So I would say to Andrew, keep doing what you're doing if that's what you believe who you are. Don't try to finesse your words unless you feel that you need to finesse your words for yourself.
You say, I'm sorry for saying that.
Well, I wouldn't want anyone to be offended by anything I say, but I say things. But I say things that offend. And this is the thing that's interesting, Piers. Please let me finish.
Yeah, but you're behaving like a politician. But hang on, you could say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you. So as an interviewer, you're
sure. Okay,
you're
sure.
behaving.
Sure. Okay, let's. Sure.
Okay, you accept that. Let's accept we both got on. Okay. So again, my point is simply, if a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments, would you just say to her, "Look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that"?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with me.
But is that the kind of world for women that you?
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
So you're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an excuse.
Is that there are parts of the world where this is fine?
My friend.
So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where...
You don't think it's fine?
The reason
This isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable...
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world.
Yeah, Piers got a job to do. He's doing his job where he's trying to speak for the people. There's someone thinking like Piers out there. So he's doing a good job of that.
Yeah, that's always what I thought. He kind of he's British. He represents kind of the old school British way of thinking. So he always asks questions in that light. Like he asks questions for, you know, the 55, 60-year-old, you know, British person at home who doesn't go on the internet very much, who doesn't know about Andrew Tate. So, but it is frustrating to watch.
It's not about, we're repeating ourselves here.
Well, not really. I'm just trying to get to what you actually believe.
I believe that men find youth attractive in general. I believe that in the context of the conversation...
25-year-old women aren't old.
I agree with you, they're not. Especially, I'm old. I'm a lot older than that. The point I was making was part of mediating a panel, a conversation between feminists and some Muslim guys.
I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
good. So you understand why I said the sentence.
But as far as I know, you weren't espousing what a Muslim man might think. You were espousing what you think.
I was espousing what the people on the panel believed.
But you were saying what you think.
I feel like you're trying to pin me down.
If it's not what you believe, just say, I don't believe that.
What part wouldn't I believe?
Well, you tell me which part you don't believe. There's the sentence. Which part would you now say you don't believe?
I believe that 25-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners, but I don't believe that makes them a bad person.
Right. But you understand that the way you phrased it makes every 25-year-old woman feel a bad person.
No, I don't think so.
Of course you do. You're not stupid, come on.
Piers.
Andrew, you're not stupid. You know what that sounds like to any 25, 26-year-old woman.
Completely. And
right? So you have maligned every 25, 26-year-old woman with that statement. And I'm simply asking you, to all those who are not of the type of women that you've described here, are you sorry?
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves. I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female. And anybody who's...
You lead a righteous life?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You boasted openly of having 6, 7 partners at once. So is that righteous? I'm not taking there's no moral view from me. Simply asking you what you think righteous means. But you believe in the concept of marriage.
Completely. That's what we were talking about the whole time.
What do you think?
We talked about a man giving a woman away.
Okay.
I believe in marriage more than anybody. In
here's
fact,
my-
I believe in marriage in, no, please. I
Okay.
believe in marriage in the traditional sense. I believe a man has a duty to stand up and be a real man. I believe that the problem with the world today that we are facing is that not enough men are sticking to the age-old ways of masculinity. I believe that me standing up and saying a man must protect a woman and provide for her, so he needs to make sure that she's safe. He needs a degree of authority to
I have
protect
no
her.
problem with.
But people do have a problem with it.
I'm
that's
not sorry.
And that's the world we're in now.
Andrew, I'm over here.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with what you just said. Here's my problem.
What do you think about that point about traditional masculinity not being as valued today?
Yeah, it's always been the way. You have the old school way of thinking to the modern way of thinking, and it's gonna bump heads. So the people that are looking for opportunities to attack that, because that's just the human way of operating. So yeah.
What do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real, no.
Really?
Correct.
You don't believe people can be clinically depressed?
I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately, I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect. I know that when I've had difficult periods in my life, and also many of my friends, like I've said, suffer from PTSD and been through terrible things. I've lived a very difficult life, and I know people who have, that the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as I can.
And by the way, on that, I agree.
So we agree.
My favorite speech is the Rocky Balboa.
What's your opinion on what he said about all that?
Which part?
About depression and so on. And
Yeah, I think he's ill-informed, but what he's doing, he's giving his opinion based on his life, his experience, and his philosophy in life. So that is what it is. And sometime in life, you get it right. Sometimes you get it wrong. That's where you go through life and you keep growing and becoming, and you fine tune your philosophies. On that point, I think he's behind. But at the end of the day, I see that he's using his own personal life experience through, his life and his friendship. So some of the stuff he said on the surface is true, but some of it he needs to do a little bit more work on.
yeah,
Because it's not factual, but this is what he believed.
yeah. I feel like he's coming from the place of taking responsibility, and you can't take responsibility if you say that depression is out of your control and there's nothing that I can do. But that doesn't stop depression from being a very real thing, which scientifically we know exists. But a psychologist would agree with an aspect of what he said, which is you have to take accountability. You have to take responsibility and pull yourself up. So that is right, but the idea that it isn't real probably isn't true.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we agree. No, we didn't.
Here's where we don't agree.
Piers.
You don't. Now, hang on. You got to let me
Sure.
interject when I don't agree with you,
Sure.
right? Where I don't agree with you is that there's no such thing as clinical depression. There absolutely is.
Well-
it's a proven scientific medical reality. There's a different argument about have we gone a bit too soft, right, in schools and all the rest of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think some people moan and whine too much about their lot in life? Definitely.
Okay.
Are we a victimhood society? 100%.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as clinical depression? Absolutely.
So if
and my argument is that if you actually bracket everybody who's not clinically depressed and doesn't have the genuine medical condition, then actually if millions of people are deemed to have depression, the ones who really need the help don't get it.
Well,
that's my point.
Well, that I would agree with. You're right. I think it's certainly an overused term.
But you don't accept there is such a thing as clinical depression.
No, I don't.
And that to me is a damaging view.
Okay. Well, let me explain why. If someone comes to me and says, I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And what you need to do is stop identifying that way, and let's work together to try and fight
But
against
there
it.
isn't an eminent doctor in the world.
What do you think about that? Do you agree with that?
In theory, but he's making it very simple. But so you think about it, when people feel, what people feel is real. So what you perceive to be true is the truth. But at the end of the day, what he's saying, you have a personal responsibility for your own life. So you have to somehow dig deep and pull yourself up and get yourself out of the situation. Some people are not willing to do that. They're willing to just lay there in the mud. And that's probably why I'm getting his philosophy, is that a lot of people are falling behind this clinical depressed thing when they're not. And some are so deeply depressed that they need help. So I'm on both sides of the fence, and that's the great argument. I believe what Piers is saying to be true, and what Andrew is saying, some of the stuff he's saying is true as well. So it's another one of those arguments it's hard to have a win on, because you can have a debate about both.
Yeah.
Who would tell you there is no such thing as clinical
I think
depression? Who would not tell you that some people it's simply beyond their control?
Johann Hari wrote a book saying exactly that, my friend.
He's not an eminent doctor.
No, but
he's a journalist.
I said depression wasn't real long ago and was attacked for it. Then Johann Hari wrote a book, which
What's it got to do with Johann Hari?
because he wrote a book proving me right. Most people.
Johann Hari's a journalist.
Sure. And my point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed are suffering with something in their life. And if you fix the problem in their life, perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew,
that's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers.
That's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
that would agree with you.
Piers,
do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous.
Perhaps, but if it allows me to live a life where I feel happy and content within myself.
This is that little area where you lose me.
No, I don't lose you.
You won't, because
Piers,
somebody with your following says
the thousands of people who have emailed me saying my doctor told me I was clinically depressed and it's a disease that I have got in my brain and I can't be fixed. And I started listening to you and I realized that that's not the case and I can fix my own life and you're the only person who has ever helped me.
Oh, Andrew.
Thousands of people have emailed me that exact email.
If you think you are single-handedly curing people of clinical depression, you are living in cloud cuckoo land.
I am reading the emails of people who I have cured of clinical depression.
You're reading emails from people who have believed you when you say there isn't such a thing, and they've probably never been diagnosed clinically depressed. They just want to go along with what Andrew Tate says.
I don't think so.
I think your view of that view is dangerous.
I respect that you think my view is dangerous, and I respect you have the right to view that, to think that. I think that clinical depression, I actually agree with you, is massively overdiagnosed. I've already said that PTSD is a very real thing. I've already said... hang on. Okay.
Again, you're misquoting me. I did not say clinical depression is massively overdiagnosed. I said that people who claim to be depressed but don't have clinical depression, I think that is massively overblown, right? In other words, there are a lot of people who just have a bad day and declare, I've got depression.
Yeah.
And I say, well, have you been to a doctor? Have you been clinically diagnosed? If you have, and you have clinical depression, that's one thing. But if you haven't, we could probably work on some mental strength and resilience skills with you. But a clinically depressed person has a medical condition that is beyond their control.
Not according to me and many others, my friend.
Well, look, what do you know about it, honestly?
I know.
You're not a doctor, are you? Not trained, are you?
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a psychiatrist. You're none of those things.
Sure.
You're a guy on the make. He's done very well for himself, spouting stuff off, much of which I agree with, as you've seen in the interview. But some of which is ludicrous, and that's one of them.
It's not ludicrous.
It is.
It's not.
If you said to me, we're in a victimhood society, it's got to stop, I'm with you.
Okay.
But the moment you try and deny clinical depression...
I believe feeling depressed is real. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change your circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants, it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. And he said he lost his girlfriend, that's why I became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say to you. But I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a six-pack. He's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it. He started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody.
No.
I'm just saying.
Here's my question, though. Have you seen the guy's medical records?
Of course not. I just told you the
So
story.
you're just taking his word for it?
Oh, I am taking the words of a man who emailed me with a bunch of medication in specific doses.
You're denying proven science because one guy writes to you who you help, and you've not seen any evidence he ever had clinical depression.
So that right there reminds me of what I always say. You have to be careful on what you hand over to people. If you hand over your life to someone else to run, they'll run it. If you hand over the way you think to someone and let someone else think for you. So anyone who's listening to anyone, Andrew Tate or anyone, you have to be careful. You have to be able to think for yourself at the same time. Because what Andrew is doing, he's very good at knowing a lot of things, but sometimes he missed the mark, and he missed the mark heavily. So if you just believe verbatim everything that comes out of Andrew Tate's mouth, then you are setting yourself up, because he's saying that just because someone wrote a book and it validated his position, that makes it correct. And everybody knows everything that's written in the book don't mean it's true. So these are the things you have to be careful of when you are listening or following or getting involved with people when they're sharing the way they think. You have to be able to ascertain what makes sense to you and what doesn't make sense to you. So, and then break that down, and then you can change the way you think. If you believe what Andrew is saying and you're willing to put the research in to back that up, then okay, but you have to be careful. That's what I see Andrew. He's very intelligent. However, he's really believed, because that book, the person that wrote the book, validated his spot, so he's able to change people's lives. And he's believing the smoke kind of stuff. He believes in the stuff that come out of his mouth without fact checking. He's not a doctor, so he don't know what's clinically what's real and what isn't real. So you have to be careful with that. That's the point I get out of that section there.
Yeah, absolutely. And with a lot of internet celebrities, you always hear them say that, oh, people message me and say that I changed their life, but two points on that is that you see all the good emails that you get, but you don't see all the people that you might have actually negatively affected who don't email.
Yeah.
It's like maybe for one good email, you produce 10 people who feel worse about themselves, maybe. And secondly, you have people on the internet who do like prank videos, and they say that, oh, I get emails from people saying I changed their lives, and that comes along with fame. So it's hard to distinguish what is authentic.
Yeah, we all have the power to change someone else's life through our action and through our words that we speak. And so if someone's down and out and they hear something positive come from someone they respect, then it's going to be a good impact into their life. So he has that power. But to just fall back on what he's saying, he believed because so many people around the world has said to him that he's saved their life. Now he's believing he's a very powerful person who can save everyone's or many people's lives.
Yeah. Or changed his view on mental health altogether.
He's changed his view on mental health altogether.
Yeah.
And he believes it wholeheartedly, you can tell. So that's, believing the smoke, believing everything you say to be true. And you can validate that through someone else's writing a book about it.
Yeah.
So just going back to what I say, you have to be careful about believing and just listening and believing what everyone else is saying. Like if you following someone, you have to be careful about handing over your thoughts and just following that. You have to be able to think on your
critical.
own. Yeah, you have to be able to think for yourself and be able to break down and say, okay, that makes sense to me, or that doesn't make sense to me. You don't just go all in on someone else's thought.
Yeah, for sure.
When I meet somebody and they show me respect, I show them back. Respect. That's what I do, as I did with you.
You respect him?
If somebody shows me respect, I show them respect back.
So if Adolf Hitler showed you respect, you'd respect him back?
That's a stupid question, Piers.
It's not. It's a logical extension of your argument.
No, if in 1931 I was walking through Germany and a man come up to me and said, sorry for bumping into you, I'd say, sorry, no problem, mate. I'd show respect back.
What if-
I don't know, what are you trying to say? That
what if in
I sanction the Holocaust?
You literally just said if somebody respects you, you respect them back
I say if somebody
automatically.
shows me respect, I show respect back. That's a good way to go through life.
Whoever it is.
If somebody shows me respect and is courteous to me, I'm courteous back.
How
Yes.
can you respect somebody?
Do you think you should disrespect a bad person?
No. That's what a lot of people do, but I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that other than the fact how I do it. I agree with Andrew. If you respect me, I'm going to respect you back. Whoever that person is. That doesn't mean I agree with that person or would want to be that person or anything. So, because we're taught to respect any and all people.
Yeah.
As long as they're respecting you.
Yeah. I think justice and justice should be in the hands of, the government. If he's done something wrong, the government will handle it. The world doesn't need you to kind of double down on someone who, because they're a bad person or
If someone asks you the opinion of that bad person, then you have the right to tell the
absolutely.
opinion of how you feel about that person. And if it's disrespectful, how you feel about it, that's the truth. But if someone's being respectful toward you in that moment, of course, you should be giving respect back in that moment. Not to prove to the world, well, I don't like this person because of what they stand for. They're just go along, get along crew. Thanks for watching today. If you like what you're listening to and you like this father and son team, hit the like button and the subscribe button and continue to follow us on Old Head Mindset Podcast.